It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Mr. Smooth and Savvy is joined by guests from all walks of life, from the entertainment industry to authors to political and social commentators, the famous and not so famous, the controversial and the light and fluffy. We have it all. Now, here's Douglas Coleman.
Okay, please welcome back to the Douglas Coleman Show, Bjorn Leesson. Hi, Bjorn. Welcome back.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thank you, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How many books are in this series?
Total, there will be 7 with one spinoff at least. So far, the first 3 are out, and the 4th is scheduled to be released next month on the 25th.
Okay, because I lost track. I mean, I think this is your, 3rd time on the show? And I know it's runes. Yes, it's always runes something, right? I think I know how to pronounce this thing now. It's a Dokkrsdottir. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the latest book is called Rune of Revenge?
Yes, sir.
All right. And it says at the top, it says the epic series continues in a new direction. So what is different about this?
Okay, it's still the same story, but in the first 3 books, Rune of the Dokkrsdottir, Rune of Renewal, and Rune of Destiny, was basically the main story that centered around Mariel the Dokkrsdottir. So future installments, starting with book 4, Rune of Revenge, will be everything that feeds into the backstory that led to everything that happens in the first 3 books. It's a very detailed, layered, and complex story, and this offers a lot more detail and connections and everything that feeds into the main story. And this next release focuses on a new character, well, not a new character, but it focuses on a supporting character named Ingrid Stone-Splitter, and it follows her path through. After she's separated from Mariel, she has her own destiny to follow and her own things that she has to accomplish to overcome the dark that's threatening to overcome the world. And if the readers that enjoyed the first book with the Viking era backdrop, they'll really love this one because it's entirely set in the Viking Age, and it's very lots of action and lots of drama and everything that she has to go through. So she's a very interesting character of herself.
Well, I remember that character's name now because I thought it sounded like a character from the Flintstones. It sounded like a perfect name for somebody from that cartoon. Yeah. Right? So you said that this is
she got it.
Oh, go ahead.
No, so she got her name. Stone Splitter is kind of a family name because her family they're known for a few different things, but the reason they got the name was they worked stone. That was their job. They, worked stone to make fire pits and buildings and things like that. But the other thing they were known for is certain members of the family throughout history have had the power of foresight. They could see things before they happened, and that's one thing that Ingrid has on her side.
Okay, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this takes place through a large swath of time. Is that correct? And there's some time travel or something? Was that accurate?
Yes, sir. Throughout the whole story, the first book starts in the 820s when Mariel's born, 820 AD, Viking Age, and the end of the 3rd book, which is the end of the chronological latest year in the story, is 1944. So you're looking at 1,200 years of history. This particular installment that's about to come out is entirely, there's no time travel in this one. It's entirely in the Viking Age. So it happens between I think it was 858 to 875. So it's still a bit of a wide window to cover Ingrid, but it's not 1,200 years.
Okay, so this is sort of like akin to The Godfather in the sense that Godfather 2 was the backstory of Godfather 1.
Right.
And a lot of people thought that they
Exactly.
should have been flipped around to keep them chronologically correct, but you're doing sort of the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's almost like the Star Wars movies. The original three theatrical releases kind of started in the middle of the story, went to the end, and then the newer movies kind of went back to cover what fed into the original released movies. I'm kind of doing the same thing. I didn't intend to go out of order chronologically when I first started. It's just the story kept expanding, and I kept wanting to add more because there were so many interesting characters and so many connections that I couldn't fit into the first 3 books. So it kind of went a little bit of it, let's skip around in the chronological order of things a little bit. And I think I've got it set up. I hope so. I think I've got it set up where it still flows well, but if you've read the first 3 books, you understand what's happened with the main story, and now this is all the stuff that you were wondering what caused all that to happen. It just builds upon what was already written.
Is there any benefit to doing it that way?
No, in a way, I wish I'd have just sat down and wrote all of it and then broke it into books and released it and maybe made it flow more linearly. But like I say, I didn't intend to write it out of order, but it just, as it went, I just kept thinking of more and more stuff, but I was already releasing books at the same time. So this whole progression of the story happened pretty quickly. Normally an author will take a year or 2 to write a book, putting them out every 4 months. It just kept coming and kept coming, so I just rolled with it. I think it's still easy to follow. And most people that have had previews of looked at the book, were able to read some of the books ahead of time before they were released, agreed that it wasn't hard to follow. But you do have to remain a little bit cognizant of what area you're in because it does bounce around a little bit.
Do you remember when you were on last? How long ago it was?
It was maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I think.
Okay, 2 months. Yeah. And it was the Rune of Destiny? Was that book?
Yeah, that was the 3rd one. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it was 2 months ago, and Rune of Destiny, and what number book was that?
Rune of Destiny was the 3rd installment. Okay.
Do you have an idea how many there are going to be, or are you just going to keep going?
No, the 7th installment will be the last one of the actual series, and there'll be some spin-offs from that cover some of the characters that I feel like have more story to tell, but it's not necessarily tied into the main story, so they'll have kind of their own spin-offs. But 7 books total for this particular story, overarching story.
So it's going to be like All in the Family, and then Maude and the Jeffersons, and what else came out?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
See, now you're talking to the era. I understand.
Well, I guess I'm curious as to how you could have that much information about this. It obviously it's fiction, right?
It is. Yeah. There are historical, factual elements woven in throughout, but it is primarily fiction. And I did take a little bit of artistic license with factual history and had to move a couple things around to make it all fit, but it is fiction for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Did you do any kind of research for this?
Not I did have to research a few things when I ran across some scenes I was writing. I said, okay, I want to make sure I got this relatively factually correct. But mostly the knowledge was just already in my head because I've always loved history. I've always loved all of history. Any era, any culture I've just found fascinating. And I've, over years and years of just history being a hobby, I have a lot squirreled away in this little brain of mine. So I was able to just draw it out at will for the most part. But yeah, sometimes I had to go start looking around and find some books on something and kind of look up a few things to make sure I got it right.
Are you gonna, if you continue or start a new series, is it going to be something completely different, or are you going to stick with the Viking theme?
No, actually it will be different. In future installments, I'm not going to say a lot yet because I don't want to ruin it, but one of the characters that was a very small character in the first book, she returns with her own story, and her story is entirely what the 6th and 7th installment is about. And her background is much different. She's from the Civil War era in New York City, but she she ends up being a good guy, but dark good guy. She's not a very wholesome character. She does a lot of bad things, but in the end, it was all in service of an ultimate good. And the spinoff books will be about her activities when she was younger and before she got involved in Mariel's destiny. She had her own story about her deeds/misdeeds in New York, and that's what the spinoff series will be about. So it won't really be fantasy fiction as much as it'll be historical crime drama, I guess is how it would be best described. So it is quite a departure from what I have been writing.
Do you write every day?
Pretty close to it. If I'm not writing, I'm proofreading what I've already written, or I'm just working on trying to do some promotional material for the series. But every day there's some kind of work done on it, yeah. But it's been fun. It hasn't worn me out yet, so I'm going to keep rolling with it.
Well, I think on that, we're going to wind this down. This book has been released.
Say one more time? I'm sorry.
I said, has this book been released?
Book 4 has not. It'll be out on February the 25th.
Okay, so Rune of Revenge comes out on February 25th. I see.
Yes.
Pre-sale is available, right?
Yep. It's available now to pre-sale, but its release date is the 25th.
Okay. Last question. Do you want to give out your website? Do you have one?
Yes, sir. It is Thalsparr.com, THALSPARR.com. And that's kind of the hub where you can find where to get the books, what the books are about. Kind of tries to answer every question someone might have about the whole series.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming back on the show. Always nice talking to you. And best of luck. Keep on writing.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.